Well, Penguin fans, this is Penguins beat reporter Rob Rossi coming to you on the off-day practice between games 1 and 2 of the Stanley Cup Eastern Conference quarterfinal playoff series between the Penguins and Lightning. This is the Penguins Push, and I'm joined by a guest.
Erik Erlendsson. I'm the Tampa Tribune beat writer for the Lightning. I've been at this job for 10 years and seen the ups and downs of this franchise over the last decade.
And one thing you guys should know, of course, if you've been reading, is the Trib and the Tampa Trib are partnering up during this series to bring you the most comprehensive coverage of this series. For anywhere you want to go to read anything about both teams, you want to read it online, watch videos, all that stuff. So, all right, Erik, let's cut to the chase here. Game 1, we know one game doesn't decide a series. Game 2 is pretty big for Tampa. You don't want to go into an 0-2 hole. It's just the numbers are against you. What do you think the Lightning need to do better to get back into this thing?
Well, they need to be more desperate, and as you know, in playoff series, the more desperate team is always one that lost the previous one. So we'll see more desperation out of Tampa's game. They got to stay out of the box. Even though Pittsburgh didn't score in the power play last night, I really thought they built momentum on the first one early in the second period. 6 shots on goal, and from then on, you can just see it totally reverse the way the game was flowing. So they've got to be more disciplined with some of their stick fouls and stuff like that. And more importantly, they got to find a way to score on Marc-Andre Fleury. I thought he was spectacular last night. They had some quality grade A chances, and they just couldn't bury him.
One of the things I thought, too, was when you look at what Tampa was able to do in the first period, I know you want to match the opponent's physicality, but I don't think you want to match the opponent's physicality and let it maybe take you out of your system a little bit. Not knowing the Lightning a whole lot, I thought the Lightning, from what I'd seen in the regular season, were a little too focused on matching that intensity. And, from the Penguin standpoint, I think that's what you're going to see them do. They're going to just keep going out and saying, we're going to pound you and try to make you make the adjustments. Now, you're probably going to get solid goaltending efforts from both guys. I thought Rolson was really, really good in Game 1. In a tight series like this, mistakes are just going to be critical. That sounds like a cliche, but you saw it on the 2 goals that the Penguins scored. And I think, especially with the way these two teams are so evenly matched up, what really sticks out to me is once a team scores, there's those very precious moments right after. Because 1-0, that's a game. 2-0, boy, that's tough. And that's what you saw last night.
Well, and like you said, these teams are so closely matched on paper. It's so hard going into the series to pick, who definitively has the edge, and mistakes are very costly. And we saw that last night. Pavel Kubina takes the wrong route around the net and leaves Alex Kovalev wide open. You can't afford a situation like that in a game that's 0-0 in the third period. So they've got to clean up those areas. It's too costly. It means too much. When it's going to be, all the games I think are going to be like this in the series. You're not going to have 4-1, 5-2. They're all going to be scoreless, 1-0, 2-1. Very close games. So, and Tampa, you mentioned the physicality. They don't want to get out of their element, and they can be a physical team. They have guys like Ryan Malone and Matthias Olin and Adam Hall and Nate Thompson who like to hit, but they're no match for guys like Brooks Orpik. They can't do that. They can't let that physical toll take them down. So they've got to stay within their system and stay disciplined.
Dan Biles was going to be telling his team, look, there were some flaws in our game. We were lucky to get out of this with one victory. It's Game 2 is a whole new game. One thing I think about both of these coaches, they're pretty positive guys. What is the track record of Tampa's coaching staff here in terms of not necessarily making schematic adjustments, but in terms of the spirit, the mentality of this team? What will they try to do between Game 1 and 2 to put this team in the right frame of mind for Game 2?
He'll build them up. Boucher, he's got that master's degree in sports psychology, and it works. So you could talk to any of the players who play for him now, who've played for him before. He just has a knack of getting inside guys' head and building them up. So that's what the team meeting before they went on the ice on the off day is all about. It's let's build them up. Let's look what we did right. Here's a couple areas we need to clean up, but this is what we need to build on, and that's exactly the approach that they'll take, because there were a lot of positives coming out of the game. I thought Rolson was very good. I thought Vinny Lecavalier was tremendous. I thought Ryan Malone was great. They had some good things going for them, and they just lost momentum. They couldn't get it back.
Biggest thing I look for the Penguins in Game 2 right now, they had some advantage wins in areas I didn't think, namely faceoffs. I thought that would be an area where they've struggled mostly without Sidney Crosby. That was a big advantage area for them, and I also thought they did a really good job over the final 40 minutes moving the puck quickly, taking Tampa's forwards out of it. What or who to that regard do you think can help neutralize that for Tampa going into Game 2?
Well, with face-offs, it's got to be Vinny Lecavalier. He's been their best face-off guy, especially the last half of the season. Probably around 55, 56%. If he's not winning face-offs, they're going to struggle. Steven Stamkos, it's not one of his strengths yet. He's only 21 years old. Dominic Moore is okay. He's been up and down. Nate Thompson had a rough night in the circle last night. So Vinny's the guy that's got to step up and make sure that that's the case. In terms of Pittsburgh's transition, what they were able to do with that transition game and making sure they get the puck up the ice, it takes Tampa out of their system. They have that 1-3-1 where they really like to clog up the middle of the ice, and when you can get the puck up quickly, it doesn't allow them to set up, and that way you're able to get into the offensive zone a little bit quicker, and that's probably a big part of Pittsburgh's game plan, to try and get through. It's not the traditional trap that we're used to, but be able to get through that clogged middle of the ice.
Absolutely. I talked to Chris Kunitz on Friday night in Long Island when the Penguins clinched home ice, and he said everybody talks about Game 7. The big advantage of getting home ice advantage is that you get Games 1 and 2 at home. If you just hold your own, all you have to do is steal one of those games on the road, and then you got a real vice-like grip on the series. It's tough early in a series to say is a must-win, but what type of game is this if it's not must-win for Tampa?
Well, a lot of coaches would tell you it's dangerous to put must-win label on a game, because the only time you have to win is when you're facing elimination. So you don't want to put too much pressure on a Game 2 situation, because you are going back home, and just like Pittsburgh, Tampa's been a very good team on home ice this year, actually beating Pittsburgh both times that they were down there. So it's not a must-win, but they've got to build on some of the stuff they did right and make sure that they're feeling good about their game, no matter what the result is. In Game 2, they want to make sure they're feeling good, and as long as it's a close game, it's a tight. They've been a pretty resilient team most of the year, and I expect nothing more. No matter what's taking place when the series shifts to Tampa.
I think one thing we both agree upon is that it's going to be close, tight games. We were joking earlier in the series. This thing has 3 overtime games somewhere written all over it, the way this is going.
Overtime.
Fun for you, not so fun for us. So you want to check out all Erik's great stuff in the Tampa Trib, and you want to keep tuning in to Trib Total Media to check out my okay stuff.